The assistance is there, and the assistance will remain there. And the direction is also very clear. The direction is NATO, and everyone understands that. See, NATO is very strong in the skies today. Yeah, the defense plans that were adopted yesterday, as a politician, I maybe don't understand all the intricacies, but I'm clever enough to listen to what all the generals are saying. And all the generals are saying that this was an absolutely prerequisite to make sure that all of the contingencies are taken care of, all the chains of command are worked out in finer detail, and the plans are adapting to the new reality. So this means that in terms of any conflict now, everyone knows what their place is and how they fit into the big decision. This is important for logistics, this is important for reinforcements, for all of these things. Not to say that there were no plans beforehand, but now it's much, much more concrete. And for the Baltic countries, the Suwałki Gap, which has been the Achilles heel in terms of resupplies, etc., with Sweden and Finland joining, this is no longer so geographically or militarily important, because supply routes can be provided over the Baltic Sea. The distance between Gotland and Western Latvia is not very far at all. And with aerial defenses, etc., supply chains can be created over the Baltic Sea. So it changes the game actually completely in favor of Baltic state security. It's a process. It's a process, and NATO has its own procedures, and it can be maybe a little frustrating at times, but there are certain procedures. Whether, and I guess they make sense. Also, when my country joined NATO, there were reforms and chains of command and information, etc., etc., that needed to be addressed before. So all of the same rules apply to everyone, but trust is something which builds, and I think with Zelensky coming today and also the council meeting, I think that level of trust and mutual understanding will only grow. Many of us leaders know Zelensky quite well. We've met him on various occasions in Kiev and outside. Now that everyone will be meeting him, even if someone has not yet, that will help to build that. And Zelensky's personal contacts with everyone is extremely important for his country. But he knows that within NATO, there is a block of us who are absolutely 100% behind and supportive, and will continue that effort. So the process is moving forward. I'm confident that things will work out very well.
Prime Minister, what there are talk about Belarus yesterday, as President Macron said?
Yeah, again, I think I've stated this before, that Belarus, in everyone's understanding, is essentially an extension of Russia today. To speak of an independent Belarus is something to be attained sometime in the future, but Belarus has effectively lost any sovereignty. So when we look at the entire situation, the military situation, the sanction situation, everyone views Belarus as an extended part of Russia for all practical purposes. It's a process. NATO is a military bloc, but it is also a political bloc. And politics sometimes can seem frustratingly slow on a Monday to Tuesday basis. But if we look at the trajectory of where we have gone in the past 500 days, we have gone from member states being hesitant of supporting Ukraine, of this, of that, to now 100% backing and also a clear backing for the direction of coming into NATO. This is a big change. We've had countries which were not investing in defense, which are now investing in their defense. We're looking at increasing the defense industry in Europe, its capacity, and around NATO to do this. So it is all a process. And as someone who's in the process, I very well understand that it sometimes seems quite slow. But actually, in the bigger scheme of things, it's not so slow. And what's important that in politics and in these processes, you build in the inevitability. And the machine is moving. And Putin understands that very well. Thank you very much.
To see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Thank you for actually inviting us.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So much.
Okay.
So, Prime Minister Kishida, welcome to NATO. It's really great to see you again. We met earlier this year in Tokyo, and it's great to see you here in Brussels. We highly value the partnership with Japan. No other partner is closer to NATO than Japan. And you have stated many times that what happens in Asia matters for Europe, and what happens in Europe matters for Asia. And that demonstrates that security is not regional, security is global. And that is demonstrated by the ongoing war in Ukraine, which has global ramifications. And we are extremely grateful for your strong support to Ukraine, your economic support, and also the fact that you visited Kiev some months ago. We are, of course, also concerned about China's heavy military build-up, the modernization and the expansion of its nuclear forces. And we are, of course, following very closely and condemning the nuclear and missiles programs of North Korea, violating international norms and multiple UN Security Council resolutions. And we saw the latest missile launch by North Korea, once again reminding us of the nuclear missile programs which are in violation of international law. So we strongly appreciate the fact that you are here participating in the NATO summit. We look forward to deepening further the cooperation and to have the meeting later on today with the Indo-Pacific partners. So once again, Prime Minister, welcome to NATO.
はい、まずストルテンベルグ、事務総長、歓迎の言葉ありがとうございます。こうして再会できますことを大変嬉しく思っています。
Well, Mr. Secretary General, thank you for your warm words of welcome, and I'm delighted to see you again.
現下のこの厳しい安全保障環境の中にあって、欧州とインド太平洋のこの安全保障は不可分です。そして日本と NATO は世界のどこであっても力による一方的な現状変更を許さない、法の支配に基づく自由で開かれた国際秩序を維持していくことの重要性について認識を共有しています。このように基本的な価値あるいは戦略的利益を共有する日本と NATO はその絆を深めています。
In the current severe international security environment, the security of Europe and the Indo-Pacific are inseparable. Japan and NATO share the understanding that unilateral attempts to change the status quo by force or coercion will not be tolerated regardless of where in the world, and on the importance of maintaining and strengthening a free and open international order based on the rule of law. It follows that Japan and NATO, which share fundamental values and strategic interests, should further deepen our ties.
そしてこの度日本と NATO との間において協力に関する新たな計画が合意に至ったこと、これを歓迎いたします。伝統的な分野に加えてサイバーですとか新興破壊技術、情報操作への対応を含む戦略的コミュニケーションと新たな安全保障分野においても絆を協力を進めていきたいと思っています。
And this time, I welcome our recent agreement on a new program for NATO-Japan cooperation. In addition to traditional areas, we will cooperate in new security areas such as cyber, emerging and disruptive technologies, and strategic communications, including countering information manipulation.
本日の会談におきましては、インド太平洋についても事務総長としっかり議論を行い、インド太平洋への関心と関与を高める NATO との連携、これ一層進化していきたいと思っています。
In today's meeting, I look forward to having substantive discussions with the Secretary General on the Indo-Pacific, and I hope to further deepen our cooperation with NATO, which is increasing its interest and engagement in the Indo-Pacific.
改めてストルテンベルグ事務総長のこのご招待に感謝申し上げます。
And once again, Mr. Secretary General, thank you for your kind invitation.
Thank you. Welcome again. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
we would like to discuss this issue with G7 countries, because this is a really important element of the future cooperation and support for Ukraine. We will talk about it, I hope. Thank you very much. Dziękuję bardzo.
Good morning, everyone. This is an important meeting. It's extremely important to stick together to support Ukraine as much as we can. We have, together with NATO, the EU, an excellent cooperation, and we are working a lot in order for the EU to become more and more a security provider in full coordination with NATO. It's also very important to make very clear that we want to be extremely united and that we are ready to provide security guarantees to Ukraine and to participate in all the efforts. We also support the Just Peace the Just Peace formula proposed by Volodymyr Zelensky, based on the UN Charter, based on justice. There is no place for impunity. L'Union européenne et l'OTAN, nous sommes extrêmement unis dans ces temps extrêmement difficiles pour soutenir l'Ukraine autant qu'il est possible. L'Union européenne soutient l'Ukraine avec des moyens financiers, avec des moyens humanitaires, avec des moyens politiques. C'est la reconnaissance du statut de candidat pour l'Ukraine, et avec des moyens militaires. La facilité paix, la formation des militaires ukrainiens sont autant d'exemples de la détermination de l'Union européenne de travailler en complémentarité étroite avec l'OTAN pour faire en sorte que l'on défende les mêmes valeurs, que l'on défende la Charte des Nations Unies et la souveraineté. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. So, we will continue today. I think the experience we got yesterday, I'm in Finland, being first time full member, that was a very positive meeting, and we are expecting, like we yesterday were talking, to have our good neighbor Sweden alongside us as soon as possible. Today we have a possibility of meeting President Zelensky, and I guess that will be a very interesting, profound discussion. Tapasin hänet eilen illalla myöhemmin, ja varmasti odotukset niin hänellä kuin Ukrainassa yleensä ovat olleet tietysti suuriakin, ja sitä taustaa vasten ehkä tuo ensireaktio jollain tavalla on ymmärrettävä. Katsotaan nyt sitten tänään, mitä hän tänään sanoo.
Puolan Duda sanoi, että hänen mielestään nämä NATO-toimet eivät olleet riittäviä. Mikä on Suomen presidentin kanta?
Tässähän on keskusteltu pitkin matkaa ja on ollut jonkin verran erilaisia näkemyksiä, niin kuin presidentti Duda on sitten kerrannut. Kuitenkin varmasti hänkin on pitänyt yhtenäistä mielipidettä, että sellainen kyetään rakentamaan hyvin tärkeänä. Minä olen todennut hyvin selvästi, että nyt tavoitteena pitäisi olla se, että kaikki tavoin edistetään ja avustetaan Ukrainaa tavoittamaan ne kriteerit, jotka NATO on asettanut. Tämä edistäminen ja tavoittaminen on tietysti toimintaa, joka antaa sitten mahdollisuuksia myöskin ehkä tietynlaiseen väljyyteen. Nyt tietysti tässä uudessa tilanteessa on erittäin tärkeää, uudessa tilanteessa siinä mielessä, että Euroopassa, Ukrainassa on sotatila. On erittäin tärkeää, että NATO asettautuu tietyllä tavalla uuteen raamiin, ja sitä näissä suunnitelmissa haetaan. Kyllä se on Suomelle tietysti erittäin tärkeää ja totta kai me olemme nyt sitten suunnitelmissa hyvin kiinteänä osana. Kyllä oikeastaan kaikki kokemukset nyt vuoden ajalta osoittavat, että kyllä siinä puhutaan minimitasosta. On vaan havahduttava siihen, että sellainen pysyvä rauhantila, johon me ehkä tuudittaudumme, ei se olekaan annettu asia.
Presidentti Niinistö, NATO ei voi antaa turvatakuita Ukrainalle sodan aikana, mutta G7-maat tulevat tänään ilmeisesti jonkinlaiset takuut antamaan. Miten tämä on mahdollista, että yksi voi antaa ja toinen ei?
Ymmärtääkseni G7-maat tulevat puhumaan sellaisilla otsakkeilla kuin security assurance, joka on vähän eri asia kuin guarantees. Hyvä, kiitoksia.
Good morning, everybody. And today we have a historic Ukraine NATO Council coming up. Yesterday we did render some decisions regarding the pathway of Ukraine to NATO. There was, of course, a frustration on the Ukrainian side. Understandably, Ukraine wants to have the peace that NATO's umbrella is bringing for our country, for example. But it is very important that all the allies are behind this decision and we go and start this process to take Ukraine into NATO. As I've said before, I really do believe that Ukraine's place is in NATO. Being in NATO is ending the gray zones that are sources of conflict and wars, what we want to achieve. Yesterday, for us, a very important decision regarding the new defense plans. These plans were adopted, and that means that we are really ready to defend our country from the first inch, from the first moment. And now it's also up to all the allies to increase the defense expenditure in order to really fill those plans with real substance. And I'm really glad that everybody agreed to the obligation of 2% of GDP in defense investments. And also joining, Sweden joining NATO is very good for the security of our region because now it's not the Suwałki gap that the Baltic countries' defense depends on, but the help can come from the other side as well, and this is making this whole region more secure. Today, we're going to discuss with 4 good partners, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and South Korea. This war has shown that the countries that have the same values that we have here will join and really support Ukraine every possible way. And we have other challenges. Security of ours is not regional but global. Cybersecurity issues, information war that is going on, and there is a lot that we all share. Thank you. As I said before, we were not saying that Ukraine should join while the war is going on. Nobody asked that. Nobody was demanding that, and never has. Even Ukraine hasn't. Everybody understands that they can't join while the war is going on. It is important that we agreed this process. I mean, the foreign ministers will nudge this process annually, seeing where it is going. Of course, a lot of words in the text. But what is important is that we can't draft Ukraine into NATO. We have to have concrete steps that take Ukraine into NATO. And we have those steps agreed so that we can fulfill all the conditions. And when the opportunity window opens, like it did for us, it might be a very short period of time when Ukraine has pushed Russia back to Russia and they have the opportunity to join NATO, then we should do it really fast because it's the only security guarantee, that it's the cheapest, and is actually deterring Russia from further aggression.
President Zelensky said he is afraid that
We don't see that, but of course the question is, there's a lot of frustration that the war is going on and everybody wants to have peace, but what we are talking about is sustainable peace, and sustainable peace has few elements, and one of those is accountability, for example, whether the Russians are held accountable for the crimes committed, and there are other elements in the peace plan as well. So we can talk about peace then, and when there is peace, of course, we can also continue with the membership of NATO of Ukraine.
Those security guarantees that Ukraine is getting today, do you trust them, considering that they already have a good memorandum of work?
In the Budapest memorandum, and there were security assurances, and Russia was also part of them, so they were not keeping their promises. Now it is the bilateral agreements that Ukraine has with different countries, so that we are giving them military aid to help them to defend themselves, and this is what we actually do. So writing this down gives them, assurance that when the change in leadership comes in some countries, because we have elections, then it doesn't change the obligation of a country to support Ukraine. I think this is actually very important, because the difference between Russia and democratic countries is that the Western countries keep their promises. And I think that is also very important regarding yesterday's decision, is that all the allies want to be behind those words, so that these are not only words but also deeds to take Ukraine into NATO. So that's why all the words were looked into so deeply and with so much detail.
Belarus, which is bad, not about Lukashenko, which is bad guy. Do you agree with that?
Well, as long as Lukashenko is leading the country, we have considered Belarus as a co-aggressor in this war, because they have been acting together with Russia, and this is how we deal with them. Okay, thank you.
place on the big stage.
Dear friends, if you are able to find your seats, we will try to start as soon as possible. So, I am sorry to disrupt you, but we are here to have a meeting. And we are supposed to sit in our seats. And there are 9 names of the countries in front of you.
You were at the dinner last night. Yes.
The sooner you are able to find your seats, the sooner we can start, and the sooner we end. Yeah. So now, if my friend Eddie Rama can find his seat, then the meeting will start. I think that's... Sauli, I need you in your seat.
Temporarily.
Yeah. Here we go. Okay, then we are ready to start, and first of all, a good morning and welcome to all of you, and a warm welcome to our close partners, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and the Republic of Korea, and also to the European Union. It is great to see you all here together again. NATO is a regional alliance between Europe and North America, but the challenges we face are global, and our security is interconnected. What happens in the Euro-Atlantic region matters for the Indo-Pacific, and what happens in the Indo-Pacific matters to the Euro-Atlantic. The war in Ukraine has global ramifications. Terrorists and cyber threats know no borders, and authoritarian regimes are coming closer together. So we must stand together for the rules-based international order, and I therefore welcome the presence of partners here with us today. This ends the public part of this meeting. I thank the media for joining us, and then we continue the meeting in just a moment.